Woo! What's going on, guys? Orange Swarm coming at you guys today with another video. Today's video is the aftermath of the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Detroit Lions, and it was pure domination. The Detroit Lions destroyed the Jaguars 40-14. That puts the Jacksonville Jaguars at 4-8, third in the AFC South. Detroit Lions at 5-7, second in the NFC North. Just pure domination. Let's talk about some injuries, though. There was very little. Jaguars did lose linebacker Chad Muma a little bit during that game. Missed some time. He had an ankle injury. The Lions didn't really lose anybody. Obviously, we had guys out like Evan Brown and Julian Akwara, but they were clean across the board. One of the cleanest games I've seen the Detroit Lions play in a long time. Just almost flawless, pretty much flawless. Now let's talk about some stats. We start with a away team, that's Jacksonville. And quarterback Trevor Lawrence was 17 of 31 for 179 yards, a touchdown, sacked a couple times, completing 54% of his passes. Didn't have the greatest game whatsoever, but he did do that. And then rushing, running back Travis Etienne, 13 for 54 yards out of 4.2 yards per carry. A nice yards per carry. Didn't really get him going that much because it was just we had such a big lead. They kind of got away from the running game in Jacksonville, and it was actually really good for the Lions because he's one of their biggest weapons, and he couldn't really get going. But he did have a nice yards per carry. Then Trevor Lawrence had 4 carries for 32 yards at 8 yards per carry. But that's really about it, man. They shut down this running game, the Detroit Lions defense. And receiving, Christian Kirk, their wide receiver, their big-time free agent wide receiver that they brought over from Arizona, with 6 catches for 104 yards on 8 targets. He had a nice day. Tight end Evan Ingram had 5 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown on 7 targets. Wide receiver Marvin Jones, ex-Lion, only had 1 catch, 17 yards, but targeted 4 times. Another wide receiver, Zay Jones, had 2 catches for 16 yards on 7 targets. He had a couple big drops, too, as well. And running back, Travis Etienne Jr., 3 catches for 12 yards on 3 targets. Caught all 3 of his targets. It wasn't a huge game for anybody really but Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk had a really solid day. It was a guy that I was a little bit worried about, him and especially Travis Etienne, but they kind of shut down Etienne a little bit. Only him amassing 54 yards on the ground, a few yards through the air. But Christian Kirk was their main guy, and he's a pretty good wide receiver. Defense, the linebacker, the one kid I was worried about, Foysiade, I probably ruined his name, Olakan, 15 total tackles. He was all over the field. The linebacker, Chad Muma, the rookie that I was talking about too as well. He had 11 tackles, 1.5 sacks. He was flying all over the field. And then safety, Andrew Wingard had 9 tackles. Another linebacker I was kind of worried about was Devin Lloyd. He had 6 tackles, though. Defensive end, Trayvon Walker, the number 1 overall pick, did have 5 tackles, had like a pass deflect, a couple quarterback hits, at least 1, a couple pressures. But he was a little bit quiet. The defensive tackle, Davon Hamilton, had 5 tackles and 0. He had that half a sack too, helping out with Chad Muma on that sack there. It was just, it was, there was some nice plays by obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars here, but they couldn't really get off the field defensively, so they had some trouble. We'll talk about that too. Now the Lions quarterback Jared Goff was almost flawless. He played a great game, 31 of 41. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, couple sacks against him, 75% completion percentage. He was, like I said, near flawless. He played a really good football game, and we'll get into it a little bit too. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the running back DeAndre Swift got going. He had 14 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. Running back Jamal Williams, 11 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown as well. Receiving, wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. He is an absolute superstar, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just getting better and better. Wide receiver DJ Chark had his coming out party for Detroit, playing his former team. He had 5 catches for 98 yards, made a couple really nice catches, especially on a deep ball. It was a nice, beautiful throw, nice catch. talk about that in a bit too. On 6 targets, running back DeAndre Swift had 4 catches for 49 yards on 6 targets. Tight end Brock Wright had 2 catches on 25 yards and 2 targets. The wide receiver Josh Reynolds got a little more involved this week, which is good, which is a good sign. Had 3 catches for 19 yards on 4 targets. And then, Michael Badgley, hey man, we might have found a kicker. 4 field goals, 4 extra points. He was perfect all day with a 47 long. So he had a really nice day, man. Points is points, and he put up quite a bit of points for us. And defensively, safety Kirby Joseph, the rook, had 8 tackles. Linebacker Alex Anzalone, 5 tackles and a fumble recovery. Made a couple nice plays too in the backfield. He had a really nice game, actually, Alex Anzalone. Quarterback Will Harris had 5 tackles. Safety Deshaun Elliott had 6 tackles and a forced fumble on it was a really nice run, actually, by Travis Etienne. And then as they were trying to tackle him down, Deshaun Elliott ripped the ball out of his hands. It was a good play. Defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, the rook out of Michigan, had 2 tackles and half a sack. Defensive tackle Benito Jones had 3 total tackles and half a sack as well. And then outside linebacker James Houston, the rookie out of Jackson State, had a tackle and a sack, another sack for the kid. And then defensive end John Kaminsky had 2 tackles, pass deflect. So a good overall effort by the defense in general. They played really well. But let's talk about this Lions versus that Jags defense. The Lions offense was incredible. There's nothing really you can really say badly about their day. 8 possessions, scored on all 8, field goals, touchdowns. Hasn't happened since in 4 years. Don't remember who the team was that did it before, but they got themselves in the record book. It hasn't been done in a long time, 4 years, scoring on every single possession, which is very impressive. Goff was great. The only bad thing I could say about Goff, and he had one bad throw in the first drive where they were driving, they were going all the way down, and he tried to fit in a ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the ball went right through the Jacksonville Jaguars defender's hands. The corner, I don't know who the corner was. Maybe it might have been Darius Williams. Not 100% sure. But it went right through his hands, and the ball flipped up in the air, went off something, and Amon-Ra St. Brown caught it. But it was the only really bad throw that Jared Goff had. And then after that, he was pretty much clean all the way through. He had a great game. Jared Goff had a great game. If he can play like that, man, all the time, then you know what? I won't be so hard on him. But he was near flawless yesterday. He had a great game. Running backs were good. Swift getting more involved again now. 14 carries, a few catches, getting touches, getting yards, getting in the end zone again. Jamal Williams literally tying Barry Sanders for touchdowns in a season at 14. That's great company to have. And obviously he's not Barry Sanders, but he's getting in the end zone. Jamison Williams did play, only had a handful of snaps, 4 or 5 snaps it seemed like. He was supposed to be a gunner apparently on punts. I don't know why they were thinking about doing that. I thought that was a little bit odd, but we didn't punt. We didn't punt once. So he got on the field for a few snaps. He got a ball thrown to him. He didn't catch it. He didn't get open. It was actually defended pretty decently by the corner, and it was a deep shot too. It was a little bit of a deep shot, and they just couldn't get it to him. He just wasn't open. Apparently there's a little bit of word out there that he's a little bit upset about all that stuff. But hey, that's going to happen, man. He's young. He probably wanted to play a little bit more, but Dan Campbell explained it's like we're trying to get this kid feet on the ground. We're trying to get him going. You know what I mean? We're not sitting there and we're not going to throw him out there for 30 plays, for 30 snaps and just start rifling the ball to him. They're going to ease this kid in slowly. I'm sure he'll play a little bit more versus the Minnesota Vikings at home again this coming week, this Sunday. But like I said, the offense was phenomenal, man. You put up 40 points, you score every time, you kick field goals, you score touchdowns. Goff was on fire. The running game was on fire. The O-line played really well. Ben Johnson everything was clicking. Everything was clicking. So nothing to complain about in the offense. And then the Lions D versus the Jags. Oh, that Jacksonville Jaguars offense, I was a little bit worried about. They had a couple games there back to back where they were kind of gelling a little bit. Trevor Lawrence was looking good. He looked good against the Baltimore Ravens just a week prior to this. Making that comeback win. But here, they couldn't get much going. Lawrence couldn't get much going, just completing, 54% of his passes. Only not even reaching $180 for yards, throwing one touchdown though, but couldn't get going. The Detroit Lions defense shut him down, shut down their weapons except for Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk had a big day. It looked like Okudah was on him for the most part. From what I can remember, it looked like it was Okudah and Kirk. And I would say that Christian Kirk probably won this day. I don't think he was on him every single snap, but that was the main weapon in that aerial attack for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he ate, but really nobody else did anything. Ingram did have a late touchdown, but that's really about it, man. We shut down Etienne, who I was very worried about. I was very worried about Travis Etienne getting going. But, they kind of went away from the run game, like I said earlier, because they were down so big. Detroit just kept scoring. So what happens is that teams got to start throwing more than they probably want to kind of, to not take so much time off the clock. And it was perfectly planned. They gave up a touchdown, couple field goals. I think they gave up a 2-point. Did they give up a 2-point conversion? Yeah, they did give up a 2-point conversion. The Detroit Lions defense, they did. And but other than that, man, they held them. Couple sacks, couple pressures, stopping the run game, stopping the aerial attack of the Jags. Played really well, forcing fumbles again, fumble recoveries like Deshaun Elliott getting on the getting in there, yanking that ball out, Anzalone recovering it. They just played an all-around perfect game. There's nothing to complain about this game, man. They were humming. They were like a well-tuned machine. They were humming. They were humming yesterday, man. And it was almost like, the Jaguars didn't even get off the plane. Like it just like did these guys even get off the plane? I felt like they didn't even get off that damn plane. They were just beat up. They must have woke up today thinking, my God, man, we got our asses kicked by that team. It was an embarrassing loss for the Jaguars. It really was. I thought it was going to be a really well-fought game. I was completely wrong. I took the Lions to win this game, but I didn't think it was going to be that much of a massacre. That was an absolute massacre. It was fun to watch. It was start to finish. Lions in the lead, never looked back. You almost knew right away what was going to happen. You could just tell by the way the Lions were playing. You can just tell the way they were playing. It was like, this is going to be a long day for Jacksonville. Even though I still thought it was going to be a little bit more of a game. But as the game kind of continued, I'm like, man, the Lions are going to beat this team by a bunch of scores. So, they beat them. They beat them by 4 scores, man. That's impressive. That's really impressive, man. It's an impressive win for our organization. Campbell kind of needed this again. He's been up and down with this fan base. People yelling at him, people getting upset about what he does, and I think some of it's justified, some of it's not. It is a rebuild. We got to be patient. You know what I mean? But you can tell that this team is just playing tough. We talk about playoffs around here, and it's a long shot. It's a long shot, but I like what's going on right now. As a Lions fan, you can't ask for anything more right now. I wish this would have happened just a tad earlier, that they started gelling like this. Because those first 4 or 5 weeks, man, was just, they got that first win in the second week, but you could still tell they weren't really. The offense was humming. The defense wasn't, though. obviously. But now the defense is playing well. The offense is clicking again. It's impressive. Now, they got a big game coming up at home next versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is going to be a big game, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But great dominating game by the Detroit Lions, beating up on Jacksonville Jaguars. You have a really big game versus the Purple People Eaters, Minnesota Vikings. It's going to be a tough matchup coming up. It's at home, though, so it should be a good game. Hopefully Romeo can come back. Romeo did get activated, but he did not play in this game. And hopefully we see a little more J-Mo coming up as well, too, in this game. I'd like to see if they can get him going sooner than later. But that's it, guys. Pure domination by Detroit Lions. Great win. Great win top to bottom, from first quarter to fourth. Very impressive win. Nothing negative to say about this game. This was a very well-fought game by the Lions. Beat up on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for paying attention. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, get all my videos. And don't forget to like, comment, share this out. Talk about it, boys and girls. This was a very impressive win. Go Lions. One pride, baby. Boom.